And I'm glad, one, to have you as a co-bassist on Detroit Bass Players on Facebook, and I'm glad you allowed me to do this interview with you. Coming to Detroit, I try to hit everybody to come to Detroit and just come and kick it with us, tell us your story. That's all we want to do, and try to help the next one out.
Yeah.
Because I got a series of questions I like to ask you. By being a bassist for BOYZ II Men, for those who been living under a rock, BOYZ II Men is a legendary R&B R&B singing group for over 23 years, and they won Grammys, whatever music awards they are. They've actually won them. How did you get to be the bassist for such a talented group of singers?
Well, the only way I can answer this, and someone might feel that it's a corny answer, but it's the truth. God brought me to this group.
I believe you.
It's a very interesting story. I was playing 5 nights a week at the Venetian Hotel, and the lead singer tried to get in it with me and fired me, but then called me back a couple days later. And I turned it down. He wanted to apologize to me, and I turned it down. But I accepted his apology, but he was only doing it because he wanted me to play with him again. And I told him he had to pay me a little more money, for me to play with him. So I went through a lot of struggle after that because I didn't have a gig. But I picked up gigs here and there. My background, believe it or not, I'm heavily into reggae. I played with a lot of reggae artists. Since I was 14 years old, I was into reggae, and I hung around with a lot of reggae musicians from Jamaica, from the Studio One era. So how I got to BOYZ II Men was through a lot of struggling, picking up gigs here and there, really trying to make it. A friend of mine, Bruce Williamson Jr., he's the singer for The Temptations, and he went to my church, and he was like, "Hey man, can you help me out? Can you play for my son? I'm trying to teach him how to be a lead singer, teach him all the showmanship and everything. It's a gig that's opening up for John B." And I'm like, and he's like, "Man, I can't really pay you very much, but just I can give you gas money." And just something in my heart, man, that just told me, you know what, let me go ahead and do it for him, So we rehearsed 10 days in a row just to rehearse this 10-minute set. So he could work on coaching him through, the whole stage presence thing. And it was just by chance that one of the other opening bands, there was a female drummer playing, and she just came to town. She was living in Chicago at the time. She just moved to Las Vegas, and we exchanged numbers. And she ended up calling me a couple months later, asking me if I'd be interested in playing at a church. And so I said sure. So I go down and check out the church, and my friend Johnny, who's actually playing guitar with BOYZ II Men right now, was on guitar, and everybody else I didn't know. And the music sounded really, really challenging and quite intimidating, if I might say. And so, but I remember, God's never going to take me to somewhere that I can't handle. And so I'm like, okay, God, if this is what you want me to do, I'm going to do it. So that was pretty much my only gig at the time. It was playing at church, and then I was playing with a couple little reggae bands around town in Las Vegas, and I was kind of burnt out on the lounge scene because I had done that for 10 years straight. And then the keyboard player, I'm sure a lot of the Detroit bass player families have heard of Leon Turner, one of the keyboard players in the group at church. And right now he's the musical director for Gladys Knight, but at the time he was working with Johnny Gill and Dwelle, and he was like, "Hey man, Will, who are you playing with right now?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm just playing at church and playing a couple little reggae gigs in town." He's like, "Man, you should try out for BOYZ II Men." And I'm like, "For real?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so I'm like, "When is it?" He's like, "Tomorrow." So he sent me the music, and I worked all night practicing, and I got the call after the audition. They said, "Congratulations, you got the gig." And then actually a little bit after that, like half hour later, they called me back and they said, they decided that they're going to use me just as a sub, and then they're going to have another bass player play, and if they ever need me, they'll call me. And I said, "Okay, sure, no problem. Just give me a call whenever you need me." And so they called me like about 2 months later, and I filled in for the bass player, and after the show, I went and talked to the guys, and I just wanted to tell them, "Hey, thanks. It was an honor to play with them." And they were like, "Hey, man, you did a great job, man. We're definitely gonna be talking to you soon." And it was like it really blew me away. And so, but then I didn't hear from them for like several months, and then I randomly last year, 2013, I got a call like in July, and I got a call that because they had just gone on tour with New Kids on the Block and 98 Degrees doing the package tour.
Yeah.
And that was with let's see who it was. I can't think of their names right now. But Ethan Farmer was playing bass, and Rob Lewis, the musical director. And so I got a call like from the management saying, "Hey, Will, the BOYZ are coming back to Vegas, and they requested you." And I just started praising God. Like, it was amazing, because if anybody believes in the Word of God and in the voice of God and all that, it was actually a fulfillment of what God had deposited in my spirit. I wrote it on my vision board that I was going to be playing with a major artist. That was in December of 2012, right when I started playing at the church. And then it was so amazing how everything came together. And I just followed with it all happened just basically me taking this little $50 gig, opening up for John B.
Right.
And it's like, you never know where, things are going to lead you in life. And so my whole thing is when I do anything, I don't do it according to like how much I'm getting paid. So like even on the smallest little gig, I'll bring out my keyboard, play synth bass too. That's just how I go, because it's me, it's my name that is out there. So I'm not gonna like somehow play different, not work as hard just because the pay is different.
And that word could spread very fast about William Shively. He did okay on this, but now he doesn't even bring his stuff out anymore. So
right.
So you carry yourself consistently and professionally, and of course you got the job because you put in the work. I heard you when you said the first gig, you practice. You
Mm-hmm.
wanted to nail it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm telling all these bass players that might be listening, don't go half. Don't I don't even know how to say it. Just don't go halfway. Just put your all into it. And let me close this BOYZ II Men thing up by saying that I was checking out your sound check, and I got to meet some of the band members, and we got to listen to a little bit of it. So let's just check that out for a second.